Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be modeling the Junkyard operator designed by CalcuRay on Reddit. He makes some fantastic skins for Valorant. Definitely check him out, and if you want to see me model any of these, let me know in the comments below. And today we're going to be working on this one. So to get started, I'm jumping into Blender, laying out my reference image, and starting to rough everything out. I'm just going to be working on the basic shapes of everything because after this, it gets much more complicated on figuring out what the model will look like in the end. And this is just because this isn't my concept, so I don't fully understand what the artist planned to do for making a 3D model, so I have to make a lot of guesses when going into the third dimension. But since this concept is very contrasty and it has a lot of shading on it, it's much easier to follow than something that's like just black and white. Definitely let me know if you like this sort of content where I do a voiceover and sort of explain my thought processes, but kind of just leave the time lapse for all of the more intricate work. So now I'm just going around the model, making everything look smoother, getting the handle to look more handily or just less sharp and stabby, I guess. So now I'm going to be working on the main part, the weird green fabric-y metallic or something. It's like a Teflon-like material, but either way, I'm going to get like a plane, sort of just move everything inwards, and my computer freezes because I accidentally clicked the wrong modifier, and Blender doesn't give you any warning whatsoever when one modifier will destroy your computer and the other won't do anything. So that's fun. So after putting the modifier on that I actually wanted to, I'm going to be wrapping the part around the model, trying to make everything smooth, sort of just edit everything until it looks right, start adding the padding on the bottom and the top of the scope. I'm actually not sure what you would call that. I would assume that they're like patches to connect them, but there's bolts, so I mean, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to be adding the fins. I have no idea why the skin has fins, but it looks neat, so I mean, you know. So after finishing the main parts and the front of the gun, I'm going to be moving back to the stock and getting all the tubing. And since in the middle, the tubing area kind of juts out, I'm going to be using a solidify modifier to make that. And I'm going to bevel it, and that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to move over to the stock, make this sort of like cardboardy stock looking thing. And now I'm kind of just making assumptions on how the model will work in the third dimension, and just kind of going around and editing everything till it looks nice. And for some reason, I decided to add the bolts in now, which is really stupid because I'm going to have to UV unwrap every single one of these, and normally what you do is if you have a ton of repeated parts, you just UV unwrap one of them and then duplicate it. But now I'm going to have to do all that manually and select the materials for it manually too, so don't copy that. Anyways, like I said earlier, this part is basically me just making a ton of assumptions of how this model would work, and I'm actually getting the materials set up now, and I think this is where I finish the base model. So when I do this, I'm basically just getting the general color so I know what I'm looking for in Substance Painter. Otherwise, the IDs for the model just get weird and it's hard to follow. So, oh, and I forgot to put a what do you even call that? A bolt? Yeah, I forgot to put the bolt on the operator, which, you know, it's probably pretty important to using the gun. Anyways, I'm adding the scope, and I think these are the last touches before I go into texturing. And as I'm just going around the model and cleaning everything up and adding my final bevels, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate all of your support. If you like, comment, subscribe, it really helps my channel grow. And if you have any suggestions for future projects, I read all of my comments. And let me know how you guys are doing. I'm just sitting here editing my video with a protein shake, some coffee, and a banana. I'm doing pretty good, and the California climate is really nice actually. And it's Halloween, so that's cool. Also, because most of my content is time lapses, they're not super informative or break down my processes and how I do these things, so I was thinking maybe I could make some sort of like Valorant skin tutorial or something where I cover the basics of Blender and sort of how I do these things. Definitely let me know what you think about that idea, and if I did, which gun should it be? Anyways, I finished my low poly model, which basically just means I finished the end model, what you'll see being textured and everything, and now I'm going to be working on a high poly. This model is only for the normal map, which is the details and everything that you see. So Even though this is high poly, it's going to go on to the low poly model with all the details and everything. And this will happen keeping all the geometry from the initial low poly model. So you keep the low vertice count, but you keep all the detail from the high poly. Whew, that was a long-winded explanation, but I hopefully got the point across. So I'm basically just going to be finishing up on the scope and the handle and a few other places, and now I'm in Substance Painter. And for this, there's not much more to say because I just follow the reference as best I can and make the materials as close as possible. It does get a little tricky when I start doing the text because it says like junkie and kingdom on it, and doing the scaling on that by hand is a little weird, but otherwise everything turned out really well. So thank you so much for watching and enjoy.